this right back.
Well,
put the pan into the fire.
Okay, so you return together outside. You get the download from everything that happens. So what will you do from here? It's midday.
I believe we were going to go to the manor house.
do we have our gear? I mean, do we have enough food? And
It's 3 hours there.
3-hour jaunt.
But,
What do we plan on doing when we get out there, my lord?
staying?
I mean, we could. But,
Well, do we know if we're going to be well received or received at all, or do we know what we're going to be walking into?
So you're saying we's going to be making a 3-hour trip?
yeah.
A 3-hour trip?
Yeah, a 3-hour trip.
Okay. Well, I think we can make it.
We have my lord and Gilligan.
The sky is dark today.
You'll forgive
Without a
me.
doubt there will be rain.
I'm a simple woman, but it seems to be I've met a half a dozen of these people or so, and the odds that the lady in whatever company she does keep, however small, almost certainly know that we're here by now. Agreed. We have made quite the stir.
Mm-hmm.
So, nefarious ends or not, that sort of word will travel in a place like this. Shall we hit the road? It seems we have at least a few things to discuss to see how my lord is feeling if he is up to traveling.
I do feel much less pain. So, and I did ask for any prescriptions, any suggestions like towels on heads and whatnot. But he just said bandages.
Blankets.
Simply trying to keep your wound clean.
Ah, well,
That he is partially that is inflicted by arrow and partially by his own methods, even if they are effective. He mentioned a poison will lead to a cure. Well, in his case, a wound will lead to a heal, or at least he hopes. If not, then perhaps Madame Krista will give it a shot and see whose methods you prefer.
well, I always trust your methods, Madam Krista. If you say that he is the best for the time, like you did the other day, then I will believe you. And if you believe your capabilities are higher than his, then I will believe you there.
He has more things at his disposal. I have a strong back, certainly, but not strong enough to carry all the things that he can have in his home.
Indeed. Well,
I've heard tell of certain rich lords who administered laudanum over the course of a week. It seemed to be quite effective.
Are we,
Well, that's neither here
are we
nor
upon the road outside?
Certainly.
Yeah, we're just... Your servant, this woodsman, you might want to speak with him.
well, if we come upon him, I think perhaps introducing myself and
He was the other direction. No, as I look back over my shoulder.
With a tease, and he was standing
Yes.
he was in a fork in the road, huh?
making sure we didn't go one direction of the folk.
Well, if you take the right-handed path, then he'll appear.
Well, if we take the right-handed path, apparently it will lead to bears.
Right, but if he's wanting to meet him, just go on the right path. And
We can meet it.
We can meet him in some other time.
yes, so we take the left-handed path.
The
Nothing ever
main
goes wrong.
gouge.
Well, now,
Not intentional. Not at all.
I think, I know it's maybe a bit uncharacteristic for me, fellas, but I think we might want to slow this down a little bit and think about what we're doing here and what we have and what we don't have. I mean, we've been looking to gather information, and as painstaking as it may be to a man of action, to myself, but it doesn't seem like we have any more or less information really today than we did yesterday. So, I mean, what is it that we're looking to accomplish here by just traipsing on out to the barony today as opposed to the next day or the day after? And what kind of information, Inspector, were we here to gather in the first place that we have or may have not gathered that makes us think we're ready to go out to this barony?
The letter is hearsay, and it's basically one man's word against another's. So wouldn't it be prudent to put our eyes upon the man who's supposed to be supposedly a villain?
But what if we
Plus, I'd
learn?
much like to see my aunt.
Yeah. So
And that would be one of my points at this point. 2 years since his aunt has been seen by anyone.
right. So if we had absolutely no suspicions at all, what would we be doing if we arrived in town?
We just go to the
I'm
manor.
calling on my aunt to see about her health.
So that's what we's doing.
Indeed.
What's expected of us?
And what can we expect to find? I mean,
Well, as we said before, information.
But that's why we have the two of you, in case there's something that we can't handle. If it's questions or a livelihood, we have the...
I think we keep this first meeting as polite and short as possible.
Right. If there's dirty chimneys, maybe we clean them next time.
all right. I mean, I ain't trying to gunk up the wagon wheel or anything here, fellas.
Good
but,
questions.
I mean, I just feel like we're in no different shape than we were at any point. So, I mean, if we're trying to, put a finger on what's going on out the barony and what we're up against, I mean, we're in no different shape than we've been since we was on the road 2 days ago to come up here. So
We agree on that.
I mean, we all agree on that.
I'm ready to go out there too, and I'm ready for action myself. But there's a reason why you huddle before each play. That's to put together a game plan.
Oh, that's what
We
she's
have
doing.
3 hours to huddle.
Well,
Yes. I think
Alright.
the game plan is as the Lord has said, though. We make it simple. He has been told that his aunt is in poor health by the local town council or whatever this man is, this mayor. This mayor man, yes, he's been summoned. So he's come to check on the health of his aunt.
Well, maybe while we're still walking, we can come up with a couple of what ifs and what does. So, what ifs uses the only one that's allowed.
Well, assuming you're walking at this point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we're walking, talking.
Taking the 3-hour hike.
The 3-hour hike.
Madame Krista is thinking to herself that she believes that the doctor is both lying and not lying. Yeah. She believes that he is deceiving, but not necessarily to only nefarious ends. She knows well that liars are not necessarily villains.
I think,
And then it could be a very thing, but she does not say these things aloud.
The deception could be just for simple benefit that he wants to retain his pension.
Or he has made some sort of arrangement.
self-preservation.
But what she will say aloud is, he seemed like sort of a queer fellow. Did you find out what you hoped to out of him? I know that you suspected him. Do you think that he is upstanding?
No. If there's anyone here that is like the characters we usually encounter in Log, it is this doctor.
I will say this: I feel right as rain this morning after his prescription.
I think the man's skills are there,
Well, I won't question them at all.
but
His methods are a little odd.
They work. I won't question that.
indeed, I am feeling incredibly better since the leeching. But I think the man was put in a particularly tough situation. You see, most people of his type are highly dependent on their reputation. And if he were to be fired, he would not be able to find work anywhere. If he were to receive any sort of ill review, because most, I think most employers would check on someone's background, and if they did not have some sort of letter of recommendation from their previous employer, would likely not be hired, especially one that treats in life and death. So I think the man took what he could, which was, a large payment to leave.
Well, what if he was offered protection?
Well,
And the type of protection you'd find in Log, like, leg breaker protection, that sort of thing.
I think he feels still safe here. Obviously, otherwise I think he would have left. And I think he feels that he probably can continue on his queer work with the trash pandas and the whatever else he is investigating. I think he would probably be laughed away in Lork. Would you not say so?
Yes.
Of course.
There's no question this
So he has nowhere else to go. He takes the money. It seems pretty plain to me.
All right then, to the matter at hand. What else were you wanting to talk about, Tuck? The what ifs and what have yous.
Oh, the what ifs and the what does.
Yes, that's the word.
So what ifs? You's the only one that's allowed to see her. So what ifs you? What does we do?
Well, my intent was to potentially, I think it's quite odd that a man such as him would care for a woman. It does seem quite beneath him and quite improper.
He's a lawyer. His credentials don't match up.
Well, to think about it, if she's so infirmed, how does she bathe herself? How does she change her clothes? How does she clean up after herself? Is he truly a caretaker in all those manners? It seems quite odd, which is why I will introduce Madame Krista as a maid servant of a sort.
Nurse.
A nurse.
What am I? What would that be? Oh, I don't know.
I mean, you cared for my father, so I can vouch for that with all honesty.
I'm certainly prepared to. I don't know if I could carry on such a deception. But I would do my best. I guess they would have no reason to suspect me.
The idea would be that you may be able to sense her and sense if there's anything wrong with her, any sort of malcontent around her. I would hope, but that would be able to help you get close to her. And I don't think he can quite object. And if he does, then I will overrule him.
As you would. You know what I think is funny? I could not help but think about this, but the bears were so dire. I'm shocked that they have not eaten all of the plants that he would find valuable, even if he were able to get this surly, odd, ill-tempered fellow to take him up there. It seems very likely that he was embarrassed by Loeg's behavior and did not want you to see something that he would find objectionable, or perhaps that he would find humiliating. It seemed that he did not want you to take that path at all.
He did not want us to take that path.
I don't know. Perhaps it is simple manners.
There's no manner. The man has no manners.
You know, I meant the doctor himself. I understand that this Loeg was ill-tempered and rude to you, but it really did feel as though a man in his home who did not want you to open a chamber that had not been swept. Maybe I'm wrong.
So...
No. Now that you say that.
Well, I mean, bears eat plants?
Oh, yes.
I think bears eat everything.
I thought they ate people.
I believe bears are like us, right?
I believe they will eat anything, essentially.
Well,
Fish,
that makes both
plants, other animals,
people.
If nothing, they will trample. They certainly make quite a mess of things.
They are definitely a force of nature, one that I hope we do not come across anytime soon. Or even with that blunderbuss, I feel like it would not stop him.
I don't think that's a risk. It feels like perhaps Loeg and the doctor have a relationship strong enough that he can protect him. Perhaps he pays Loeg in some way, either through coin or service.
That may make sense. I mean, the woodsman would need a doctor probably more often than, myself.
Well, particularly if you hit yourself in the face with the back end of your axe.
It does look like the man has had a run-in with someone else's axe.
Always,
Well, with a temperament like you describe, I'm sure he got someone else's foul temper himself at some point, perhaps unawares.
Well, the ill-tempered seems to be the default state around here. I do say.
It does.
Well, I can tell you, I can speak from experience. You can, ill-tempers or not, you can catch a bugger your nose up good. I mean, like in my case, all I had to do was run face first into the spiked shoulder pad of another Blitzballer. So, I mean, you know, like they say, fellers, it's easy to assume things when you don't have all the facts. So, thinking about those birds, though, let's just keep our eyes open now that we're kind of getting out on the path. And I think it's probably a good idea for some of us to be looking low and some of us to be looking high, because we've heard that there's traps out here, and we certainly don't want to go and get ourselves buggered up in any of those. So.
You find that you're still in the woods as you're walking along this path, but the woods are growing thinner.
Is there any more what ifs that we need to cover? Well, what if he doesn't even let us in the building? That was my first what if.
What if there's a dragon?
What if there's a griffin behind the door?
We haven't rolled our random encounter table. So
the dragon's out
what
there.
If there's a dragon and he's hanging out in the woods?
You open the door and there's a dragon. Why? Why is there
Then
a
I
dragon?
hit Cole Marius in the knee as I run away faster than him.
why not?
See ya.
You don't gotta be faster than the dragon, just faster than the slowest person.
Dulcidora is going to lose her turn making up her mind.
So seriously though, what if? What if this man will not let you
deny me? It's my familial home. He has no ownership of it. I'm not worried about this.
We have seen a lot of what ifs around here that have been, you can't do this, but these people are doing it.
So if there's some reason that we are left to our own devices, we should do what we think is best.
I mean, if you want to have a look around the house, I see no reason why not. Just try to keep your hands to yourselves. Whatever valuable is left, hopefully. We can keep
But your hands.
You find at this point you pass through the woods, and actually the trees grow more and more sparse until they're just kind of spots of trees here and there on the horizon. But you find that these uphill area leads to an upland, rugged-looking hills that kind of wind their way between these crevasses and limestone outcroppings. And far in the distance, up on the horizon, you can see what must be Winterborne Manor. This place is rugged upland. It looks like it's going to be a long hike. But at the summit of this hill, you can see where the castle or the Winterborne Manor likely rests.
What time of day is it?
About 2 o'clock. You'll be there by 4.
I do have to say that we my question is, if they won't let you in, like, they don't even come to the door, what do we do, my lord?
It's my house. I will walk inside of it.
I'm very good at that.
I know.
It seems to me that you learn something either way.
It's true.
My mother always said, she had a saying that if you ask and they answer, then you learn something, and if you ask and they don't answer, then you learn something else.
Is the estate walled off or gated, or?
I have no idea. Can we see it at all from here?
Well, given that, I'd say if they don't let us in, the first thing we should be concerned about is where we're camping out for the night.
Well, I believe in
Do you have the original letter with you?
I do. I do have skills, our beliefs and our skills, and I think we will, one way or another, find our way to this manor, inside, and to my aunt.
Barring that, we could trudge back down the hill to the city, or the village, I should say, and
if need be, we may
have
stay
a
tonight.
late night. But
So let's say that we're met with violent resistance, Lord Wesley.
We won't, though. Everybody's assured us in town that nobody is ever violent. I mean, why even carrying a sword on your waist is inviting trouble.
Why carry a knuckle duster to your favorite neighborhood bar in Old Lork?
Well, because you're definitely going to find trouble there, but not here. No. Everyone here is certainly peaceful.
unless you're wearing
Well,
a sword, then you're asking for it.
I've still got my knuckle duster, and he's still got his swords, and if I were to guess, you've probably still got a few trappings yourself.
I've got a couple arrows in this hunting bow, for deer.
Gonna bag you a deer.
I give you permission to... Well, you won't hunt anyway, but why not give you permission to hunt?
No, I'd really rather not, though.
Your home is quite beautiful, Millwood. It is everything I imagine it to be in Madrid.
It is quite breathtaking of you. It's a shame my father ever left, but, well, he did, and We are here now and get to take it in.
It is quite a sight.
I mean, if you like this type of thing, sure. I mean, mountains and hills.
There's a certain otherness to it.
I prefer the crammed streets of log.
And the alternative is financial ruin.
Well,
You take what you can get.
no, I
Sometimes
mean,
that is both alternatives.
considering what happened here, and considering how some of it was worked out on me back, I can see why he didn't want to come back.
Perhaps Loeg just stopped him.
I would think that maybe, yes, maybe you and Loeg need to have a conversation.
You find that this trail, as it winds through from the forest and into the hills, the area in here is very rugged. It doesn't make for easy travel because it's almost kind of looks like an open hinterland. There's this kind of shelves of limestone and rock, and very little seems to grow out here save for wild grasses and tufts here and there that kind of grow betwixt the splits in the stone and rock.
Does it look like there was a road? There had to be. How did they build this place without a road?
Well, you can. There's no official road, but there's a road for sure. I mean, this thing's been trafficked over the years, but it's not apparent unless you're looking for it.
Okay.
Somebody here has a spirit of survival, I'm assuming. Yeah. So Lord Wesley seems to walk it, and as you're kind of going along, you see that there is this pond off to the side, and the road seems to kind of wind its way near it.
When I see this pond, I stop and go, "Oh, And then continue.
Yeah, the road actually passes right by the pond.
You want to take a quick break and have a drink?
No.
No.
I think we should continue on. It's
So you will go off the path?
no, I mean continue towards the manor. Yes.
Sure. Well, the path leads to the pond and then continues on.
Well, then yes, I guess we will go to the pond and walk past it and go.
By the pond, there is you see as Lord Wesley kind of pauses. There's a stone statue by the very edge of it, resting upon kind of a raised dais of rock. Weathered old
Does this
statue.
place mean something to you, my lord?
It's where an unfortunate accident happened. I think you may have heard of it mentioned in the letter,
Yes.
where my uncle fell through the ice. And well, unfortunately was not able to recover.
The body?
Well, I can't remember that part, but I just know that he did not survive.
What sort of questions?
Perhaps they,
It is a little macabre, isn't it? I apologize. It's just the first thing that came to mind. I do apologize, my lord. I didn't mean to give you distress.
perhaps I will take a moment and pay my respects to the statue.
The road has made you hardened, so
Gaunter will dump a little bit of his ale on the ground for him.
Sure.
Pour one out for
The
ourselves.
statue is right by the side of the pond, and you can see that it appears to be of a small cherubim-looking child born with wings, who is with an arm upstretched toward the sky. The stone itself looks very rough-hewn, and over time it has been weathered, and actually there's an epitaph upon it.
I'll read it.
It says, "Little Lord Charles Winterborne, 163 to 171. May the martyr bless his little heart."
Tuck will reach and kind of rub at his back and wince a little bit. Just thinking about all of the rage being channeled out while he was whipping boy growing up for Lord Wesley.
Sir Harrison will stand up, stick straight, and give a stiff bow towards the statue.
You know that your uncle died when he was about 9 years of age.
Yeah. After holding my holy symbol and saying a short prayer to the martyr, I will continue and urge people on.
Sure.
as we go by, I will look to the base of the statue and see if, silently to myself, to see if weeds have sort of grown up around it, or to see if anyone seems to be tending this well at all, or if it seems to be...
Oh, good question. Looks like you just discovered another clue.
Yes!
the well-tended statue by the lake. The dead boy of the lake.
The skeleton climbing up out of the ice.
Maybe he comes out with a sword.
It is clear that this statue has been cleared free of any sort of wild grasses. The entire, as a matter of fact, the entire pond almost looks like perhaps it's a really deep stone quarry.
Mother's love cannot be so easily beaten away even for a deception. I'll think to myself and make note of it.
Even as you look around, Mountain Krista, you notice that the stone here has been hewn in places around the lake and such. This is clearly a place where stone has been taken some number of years ago. It is without a doubt a quarry of type, of some site, but it has been left. It is not under use by any at all. No equipment, nothing remains on.
Thus, the house could have been built directly from this quarry.
The water is completely still and deep. Very deep.
I'll consider to myself for a moment as I try to think of a way that I can communicate to them without seeming like I'm overlooking. Like, perhaps your its caretaker is not so bad. Look at how well the area is tended. Obviously, ran far too infirm to do this, so he has tended to at least some of her emotional needs.
You don't say. Is this pond viewable from the manor?
No. Maybe not. Maybe so. We shall.
I tried to take a look at how far away the manor is and see if I could guess that I could look down on this pond if I were standing up on the top.
Certainly. I mean, it'd be a distance out, but you'd imagine from such a tall precipice that you would be able to see most of the valley surrounding it. Now, it may just simply intermingle with the number of ponds and smaller rivulets that seem to trickle all throughout here.
Let's say if you went on an early morning one day, you could see the light glimmer off the pond.
Oh,
there's no moss or algae collecting here.
Not on the statue. There's amid the stone, yes.
But I mean the pond itself.
No.
Okay.
Oh, it must certainly speak to the good soul of those who, even in the face of a dire budget, that they would take such resources to devote to this.
Indeed. Speaks, I think, to the wellness of these people. The goodness of them. We shall see.
You continue along the way.
As I think to myself, wondering if they get the hint or not. I hope you got that.
The path continues, and you find that this is pretty rugged land. All of you need to make a routine athletics test.
Get ready for clattering, all listeners.
No.
Let's see.
48.
Oh God.
You guys who failed?
I'm gonna reroll.
Oh, take a misfortune.
Yep.
Misfortune.
I should have not brought these.
They're amazing.
Those who failed
My favorites are still the almonds. But
will suffer.
Anyone else?
Can I
Want to
reroll?
reroll?
No.
Okay.
10 physical peril. As you walk further up the hill and through the stone and amid the scree and the boulders and the rocks, and you come to that which must be Winterborne Manor. To call it a manor would be doing it a great disservice, for it is a very tall, rambling, old stone castle that looks to be the same color as the stone that surrounds it. A very, very old castle. Very large and ill kept. The mortar has rotted away in places. Algae seems to grow around the moat that surrounds it. An old gatehouse denotes its entrance where the drawbridge is down. This place looks like it was built an age ago.
Place has seen better days.
Also bigger than I expected.
Could use a fresh coat of paint, among other things.
This is no manor house. This is a castle.
You can imagine, perhaps, in the stories in your head of knights in tall conical helmets affixed along the parapets that surround this place. You can almost imagine that at one time that these great iron gates that are half lifted and perhaps frozen in place due to the amount of rust along their chains and from the gate portcullis itself, that they would have held this against others, shieldmen and others behind the gates. You can imagine as you come toward the moat and the great old dilapidated drawbridge that's suspended by chains, perhaps once was stormed by foreign knights or soldiers, but no more. This place is drafty and old and alone. Nobody comes to greet your entrance. The place is completely left unmanned, unwatched, save for the great doors on the other side of the drawbridge.
Certainly brings a tear to my eye. Such a defensible fortress left to ruin. Quite a shame. I hope you'll do something about this, given time.
Perhaps, indeed. I think there are many other things that need done first, but I would love to see this thing return to its glory.
Look to me. I will be most willing and happy to help you with any fixes that need to be done.
I'm sure you will come up with quite a list of things.
Yes.
Sir Harrison, you are a knight.
Mm-hmm.
This does not look like it was built in this century.
This place is positively ancient.
Well,
good bones. Good bones.
Much like the trees, who knows how long these things were here.
Wouldn't we need a lot of people?
Certainly. You see, look at the size of this place.
I can't. It's too big.
Ramparts reaching up to the heavens itself.
Could hold probably more than 250, I would say.
When you step along the drawbridge or beneath the great stone arch, you find that it soars above your head. As you pass through the murder room, as Sir Harrison calls it, you feel all the light is sucked out of it. It's complete darkness. But as your eyes adjust to the dim light, you realize there are murder holes above, probably about 15, 20 feet or so ahead. And you can imagine that either arrows or burning oil would be poured down through here. In fact, if you look at the interior of the vaulted arch, there's black stains like tar all along the rock in between where the mortar once was. Clearly this castle has been besieged at some point or another.
You know, aught of your family history, looks like there was a glorious battle here one day. Far long ago.
Perhaps there are tapestries or books or anything that would tell tale, but or perhaps my aunt can recover long enough to tell us some of these such things. But inside we go. Which way would be the way, Sir Harrison?
Straight away.
Straight away.
Those giant big doors.
I didn't know if there was. I look around for any sort of like side door.
I imagine in this world there must be a castle that is just all door. No home, just door.
In fact, the doors are wide open.
Okay.
There are leaves gathered at the foot of it. The place is quiet and apparently unmanned entirely.
Sir Harrison tut-tuts this disapprovingly.
Such a defensible defense, not be defended.
Harumph. Harumph.
All right. Well then, I shall be the first through then, as I will.
It is my honor.
Slowly walk through and kind of savoring the moment of possibly finally entering this manor home I've been told about years and years and years ago.
You were intrigued Sir Harrison, as you walk in, for the standards that hang from the interior of the great room are not that of the Winterborne. Does not resemble the seal that Sir Harrison that Lord Wesley bears.
Is it familiar to me in any form?
You'll have to roll a folklore test.
Okay. What about warfare? Would that help any?
Warfare would certainly help. Warfare will be a routine test.
Alright, so that'll be a 75% chance to succeed for me. And I rolled a 48. Success.
God. Sir Harrison stops for a moment, taking this in, and as if he's trying to kind of understand. Something seems odd to him as he's gonna. The standards that hang within this house are of a name that has been forgotten in the Third Age. It is a name that is treated with great scorn. In fact, the name was stamped out until it was replaced with the name of Priam. It is of the House Agravar, a house that was once of soaring height in the Second Age.
My lord, a moment, if I may.
Yes?
Sir Harrison withdraws his swagger stick and motions towards the standards. House Agravar. A name stomped into scorn and shame through the ages. Replaced by the name Priam.
That's the Bastard King. Yeah, that's the Bastard King's house.
What in the high hells is he doing? Are these banners doing these here?
The Bastard King is Priam.
Right. Is his territory anywhere near here?
No.
Hundreds
and hundreds of miles away.
Be on your guard. As I put away the swagger stick and start untying peace ties from my mortuary sword. Be at the ready.
As he's doing this.
Whoa. So how much would a common person understand anything that he had said?
Nothing.
What's this mean? I ain't never seen that.
See, it seems that a house other than Winterborne has taken up residence here. Evidenced by these banners.
They are very old and moldering.
Did the Winterborns owe fealty to this?
I don't. I'll start thinking to myself, because the Winterborns have been an old family, right?
They are.
So, if Priam was, because we're how many years into the Third Age now? 100? 200?
It's year 225.
So it had been almost 200 years ago. I would think that if these things were out in the open for so long, they would have been in tatters, or they would not even exist, or would I? Would I be able to make that assumption, or?
Such heavy cloth would withstand the test of time.
How far back can you trace your line?
Well, if my great aunt,
great aunt or great aunt?
Somebody clears their throat as it echoes within the great halls. This place is very voluminous, and for a moment you're not quite sure where it came from until this small, lean, supple, red-headed woman begins to walk toward you. She is wearing a dress that is not uncommonly found within Dunhallow, although the sleeves have been tailored and kind of poof out on her shoulders, and they're pulled up to her wrists like such, where you can see lace kind of coming from within and without. The bottom of her dress has been raised to expose her kneecaps, and she has lace kind of running along the length of her boots with a slit along the dress to allow this person to ride a horse. This woman with a very stern-looking face, but has a smile as she approaches, and these deep pools of green eyes.
Good afternoon.
Your voices kind of carry an echo inside this chamber. You almost feel as if you're the only ones within here, although this place is even hard to take in, as Tuck said, for it is so large.
Let me introduce myself. I am Lord Wesley Winterborne. Who may you be?
Lord Winterborne, she says. We have been expecting you.
Good.
I am Maud Linkhouse. she says. She has short, cropped red hair.
Maud, you said?
Maud.
Oh, thanks, my friend.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Maud. Is it alright if I call you Maud? Or?
Certainly, Lord Wesley.
Well,
she has a kind of a stern look. A look that would make most men, were they not brave, to shudder in their boots. She would make men nervous in the public house. She's very striking.
Well, there's a strange thing here. Why is the door open?
I imagine they're very hard to open, as large as they are.
Lord Wesley is wise. Indeed. The place is large. We do not take residence in its main halls any longer.
I mean, animals roam about this portion of the castle?
No. We burn our fires hot. Those animals who come within, birds, goats, they usually find their way out. We have taken up residence in the eastern wing. You see, and she points toward the, kind of raising her hand like such, as she points toward these massive chains that are probably as thick as Gaunter's legs. He's simply kind of fixed and rusted over time as she kind of walks you toward the outside along the drawbridge as she's kind of introducing the place to you. The doors have not been raised in some number of years. You cannot imagine, even if every person you saw in Dunhallow was a servant of this house, it seems like they would still be dwarfed by the immensity and size of this place. It would not be enough staff to even begin to attend to such a large, old, ancient castle.
Huh. Well, perhaps you can give us a tour. You say that everyone takes residence in the eastern wing?
Indeed. Lord Wesley, who have you brought to the castle?
Ah, yes. This is my man, Sir Harrison Claviger.
Good day.
She nods.
And I'll introduce them all in fashion.
Who are you?
I am Maud Linkhouse.
What does it mean? What is your purpose?
Your station.
What do you do here?
Indeed, I had understood that most of the staff had been dismissed.
All of the staff is what we were told.
There is little need for keepers of such a place. It is too large to attend, and its needs are too great. The debts that the Winterborne house has taken on is not enough to staff this place. What is your purpose? She takes a step forward toward you.
I asked first, and in common courtesy, that would require you to answer before I do.
Common courtesy would demand a shake of a hand, or perhaps a stout bow before somebody who is clearly a keeper of such a place. Do you act as such when guests come to your house?
This is not your house.
Well, she's been keeping it well, it seems, at least as well as
the
one
doors are
possibly
open, the
can.
portcullis doesn't close.
We hardly left the murder room, and to be quite frank, my lord, I'd like to maybe move about 20 paces forward and continue this
I
conversation.
believe we are in a great hall now, but
I can assure the only thing you would find in the motor room would be a motor of crows. They do have a tendency to nest in the rafters. She smiles as she turns toward Gaunter.
That's still, I'm sorry.
it's...
What is your purpose? I mean,
I operate as Castellan and assistant to Mr. Hugo Downing.
great. I work as the Lord's Investigator. See? Look at that. Courtesy. Easy.
By the way she's carrying herself and perhaps some of the clothes that she's wearing, can I surmise her social class at all?
No, she's an aristocrat, without a doubt.
Me lady, I haven't introduced myself yet. Name's Tuck Fitzroy, and he'll not extend a hand. He'll kind of bow because he wouldn't pretend to be on her level.
She will nod as she folds her hands together.
Is it possible to see my aunt?
She kind of, almost kind of curiously, the Baroness?
Indeed.
she says.
It's been, well, a lifetime of stories, and, well, I'd finally like to meet this great woman. As you know, I've traveled quite a distance.
Certainly. The hour is late for the Baroness. It is almost 5.
Indeed, I understand probably goes down with the sun, so we were hoping to make it in time, and I feel that, well, I would like to gaze upon her, and, well, if she has to go to bed, then I will understand.
I'm afraid her granddad has already taken to supplement and is down with rest. She is ill. She seems to almost remind you, or perhaps if you didn't know, she kind of lords over the words. She is ill.
Indeed, I hear, and, but, again, I would very much like to meet this Hugo Downing and meet my great aunt.
Oh, Master Hugo Downing.
Yes, Master.
She corrects you. Master Hugo Downing. Master Hugo Downing is attending to business. Perhaps I can see to your supper, and we can arrange rooms for you for the evening.
Sure, we can surely set something up. It would be a shame to walk 3 hours here and then 3 hours back and not see anyone. Well, I mean, besides you seem very nice.
Certainly, it'd be a shame for you to walk all the way back to Dunhallow and then back to here tomorrow. That's why we shall keep you.
Yes.
If you will take our bread and salt.
Of course.
It is a pleasure. Thank you.
She nods. I'm afraid, she says, as she kind of leads you through the halls, but does not keep in mind to slow down her pace. The place is mostly empty. She walks into a great hall, and you can see a great cavernous chamber that has a number of tunnels that seem to lead deeper within. She passes beneath one, taking a lantern off the wall. The place is dark. Not a single ray of light penetrates the darkness of the castle, save for this lantern. She walks along this arched, vaulted hall that's not as large as the entrance hall, but is still twice as tall as a man. You'd be basically, if you were born upon a horse and had a spear, you could barely touch the roof or the ceiling of this vaulted hall. It is very large. You can see that there are most of the things that perhaps were once arrested along the walls have been removed. There are a few old, broken down, clattered suits of armor that have been left to just deteriorate. The place is in great disrepair. The stone weeps with water. Some of the rock has collapsed inward in places. You can see where birds have nested amid some of the stone outcroppings. The place is in shambles. This whole place, you see, in fact, there are parts where actually there are pools of water gathered amid the stone, or at the foot of the stone, and algae growing. This place has been standing for nearly 2 centuries, perhaps almost 3. Its age is unknown to us. When she says us, she seems to insist upon Master Hugo Downing.
Indeed, I've heard my family has been in charge of this estate for quite some time. Perhaps for the entire age or more.
It looks like you might do with a couple of hands, helping to clean up a bit. And since he's offering to feed us and all, I mean, I wouldn't mind helping out if you need any.
It would take more than a few hands. It would take an endless coffer of coin to begin to bring this place to its once former glory from the Second Age.
I agree. I feel obligated.
Perhaps when we finish that task, we can sweep up all the sand from the beach. I'll look around.
She smiles. She takes you into what you would at first believe to be perhaps the great hall where men and women of stock would gather around a great long table. This is such a hall, but you do not see the Lord's seat within it. Although, even though that is true, the place is still large. There are a number of heavy tapestries that hang within here, denoting houses you do not recognize at all, Sir Harrison. We had purchased a wild hog from the woodsman a few weeks back that has been curing in the vault, and Master Hugo had set to prepare it for this evening. Perhaps you would join us.
Indeed, you will be joining us? Great.
Something smells in this place. It's damp, it's old, it's moldering, it's wet. It's like wet stone. The place smells just kind of mildewy, like an old basement. But the apparent smell of something cooking kind of walks through the halls, but you're not sure from where, for you see no other light save for this lantern. As she places it upon this long table, it begins to stretch and form shadows just outside of the table's reach. Perhaps you would excuse me. I will speak to Master Hugo, and we will see to sharing a meal.
Indeed, it would be nice to get off our feet for a little while, take a bit of a rest.
Please, make yourselves at home, she says. Almost as if she was giving you permission.
Perhaps there would be some aperitifs to be had in the interim, madam? Perhaps some ale?
The best we could possibly provide is leek soup.
Leek soup? So you mean to tell me that you've got no alcohol up here?
The water is very, very clean in the Greylands, she says. The Greylands seem to almost indicate the area around the castle. The water is very clean and the wells very deep. We have no need for mead here.
I can certainly see you have no shortage of leeks, at the very least.
Leek soup. That's good.
Yes, you should make yourself at home in your own home.
Indeed. It'll be almost a lifetime's worth of exploring to see every nook and cranny of this place.
Is there a way to open some windows or let some light into this room?
We are deep within the manor. There are no windows in this hall. You can hear fluttering of wings somewhere within here, but you're not sure if it's here or elsewhere.
Well, looks like you're a bit out of luck there, Gunther. But you surely brought some ale with yourself, didn't you not?
You hear her footfalls walk away. She leaves the lantern and picks up another one somewhere within a nearby hall and lights it. And then she disappears into the labyrinth somewhere deep within the castle.
Well, this is far greater than I could have ever imagined.
Seems like as good a place as any to catch an ambush to me.
Well, I mean, it seems like this whole place is a good place for potentially an ambush. I mean, that's
such is the nature
right?
of castles.
Yeah, right, exactly. I was
Yes.
the same. But no, I find the whole thing very odd.
The banners, the standoffish nature.
Well, yes, the banners, the manners, standoffish.
They weren't exactly welcomed heartily. Warmly.
Well, if they are in such dire financial situation, it might be understandable why they have nothing, no grand banquet or feast for us to come to. But
I didn't speak of that.
I know.
They knew we were coming.
True. I mean,
Unofficially.
What can I take the lantern and kind of scan the room?
Certainly. You take it. I mean, the lantern's situated in the center of the table, and it casts a pretty even amount of light all around, but as you kind of walk the circumference of this place, you realize that there are floors above you, that there are balustrades above because this is one large cylindrical room that rises up, and you recognize that there's 2, perhaps 3 more floors above you, because it's simply open, exposed to the air.
And no windows.
No windows to be spoken of.
I can only imagine if this thing were fully lit, how grandeur of a sight it would be.
Why would you put no windows in this place?
Well, it's defendable.
It's defensible.
Without any arrows? What are those slits that they use for arrows? And
Well, those would be on the outer walls, obviously.
Well, obvious to you, but not to
This would be the room where you would put all the
non-military, man.
non-combatants for safekeeping during a siege.
It's siege. Who the hell would want to even...
Well, you saw the murder hole. Some great battle took place here ages ago.
Yes.
It did happen.
I mean...
Places such as this are necessary in times of war. It may not feel comfortable to the likes of some of us city folk who are used to wooden houses that creak and groan, and you can hear the outside and the wind and the rain. But in here, you're safe from trebuchet fire and Greek fire and everything else. Defensible.
And suddenly, Madame Krista, you are struck by a shape in the darkness. Something sitting still, immovable, settled within some great chair. Some old woman, some haggard-looking thing who looks far too old to have still lived. Her skin is mottled, her hair is thin and white. She wears this old dress that looks perhaps of the same age as she is. It looks firmly out of fashion and out of this time. It is black and dressed with pearls. And she is sitting affixed, rigid, in the chair.
There's company, my lord. I will gesture for him to turn the lantern toward the table.
As you turn the lantern toward her, you see this incredibly gaunt-looking revenant. This person from another age. This woman of such number of years, you cannot believe that she is still alive and breathing. Save for the fact that her head is cocked to the side, and the crowned thin tiara that she wears upon her thinning pate is kind of cocked to the side in drool. A line of spittle permanently affixed from her lip to her shirt, where you can see a dark stain that's almost crystallized. She's been drooling for so long. Baroness, you hear Maud call out as she comes traipsing across the hallway with the lantern coming out of the darkness.
Oh, I will walk over to my Baroness then.
My lady, she says, she has a tendency to do this.
I will squat down and kind of look up at her and see if I can meet her gaze at all.
She is completely listless. Her eyes are filled with cataracts. They seem to look past and beyond you. She is rigid in her chair and immovable, just simply save for the spittle that continues to form and crystallize along the edge of her lips. Maud approaches and takes a rag or a cloth from her pocket and dabs at the thickness of the spittle, but it seems to do little good, for when she cleans it up, more begins to dribble out. She shakes her head and grabs the back of the wheelchair. Baroness, you must return back to your room. This is not appropriate.
I'll lay a hand on either her shoulder or her lap as I'm kind of down low.
She is still warm. As you place your hand upon her lap, she seems to stir slightly, and her head kind of cocks toward you. Charlie? She seems to eke out somehow, and with that, her head kind of lapses back, and suddenly she begins thrashing in the chair. Taken with some great sickness, she clenches up as she's biting her teeth down, and she rolls forward out of the chair as she's throttling and thrashing on the ground rigidly with her limbs arrested as she is taken by some shaking sickness. And we'll stop here.
Okay.
100 reward points, everybody.
Hooray.
No corruption tonight, so that's one order rank for everybody. Oh, that's right. All right.
The one they never get together.
That's right. The value tonight is 4. 4.
I only got 3, so I got another order rank. Is there a pencil laying around? I'll just wait for you, Mike.
That's why I got that.
Charlie?
Let's see. I'll think about what I want now that I wrote it down.
Order. Just pick something. Got 8 order.
Oh, forget to do that.
Nice. Making your way.
Yep.
I got 9.
How far are you through your basic tier at this point?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 left.
Nice.
1, 2,
Yeah,
4,
that's right,
5,
man.
6 left. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's say 6 until I purchase something, so everybody's in that place, right?
Yeah. 5 after you purchase, right?
I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before I purchased tonight.
Did you miss a purchase at some point? I think everybody else had 6.
Did you miss a session?
I don't think
missed a
so.
session.
You can't. That can't be right.
Everybody else has.
Okay,
Everybody
well,
else is that. So
Probably
forgot
just
that.
I'm like,
report.
if
Yeah.
they're both at that and I'm at that, you've been here.
I will take another.
Well, Walter's missed a session and Kent's missed a session, so they should both be one advance behind
that's
everybody.
I'm just going.
Did we get anything from the pre-campaign? No? Okay, I didn't think so.
So, to be continued next week on the Dunhallow Mystery. You have arrived at the castle. You've been greeted by one of its keepers, and you have found your great aunt.
Oh, she's one. She.
Next week.
Bye,
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Bye. Bye. Think about ride. Why not? Ride, and I'm gonna take the
Let it ride.
Thumbs up, soldier.
Thumbs up, soldier.